this. We're going to send this to Google.
Thank you.
This is the Home Server Show, episode number 232, recorded on July 31st, 2013. It's the ChromeCasting Essentials R2 episode. Brought to you by your hosts, Mr. Jim Collison, Mr. David McCabe, and Mr. John Stutzman. He's actually Mr. Micro Server. How you doing tonight, guys?
Doing great, Dave.
All good on this side.
All good. It's good to have you guys back. We've been off for a week. This is the Home Server Show, episode number 232, recorded on July. I contacted Jim, and I said, 31st, 2013. Taking the day off. It's the ChromeCasting Essentials R2 that whole evening episode. I was itchy, and brought to you by your host, Mr. Jim Collison, Mr. David McCabe. I couldn't stand it. I started to hang out. He's actually Mr.
Jim, help
Micro
me.
Server. How you doing tonight, guys?
We were on actually
doing great,
longer
Dave.
than we probably would have been if we just would have done.
All good. It's good to have you guys back. We've been off for a week.
I can hear my wife downstairs taking around on the TV and her laptop.
Jim. I said,
I gotta go, Jim.
It's summertime.
Well, we had I had chat open the whole time, and I was getting messages like, "No show
tonight." I don't regret it,
I'm
but
like,
I was itchy.
Kind of no show. So we ended up having a good chat, kind of an open Google Hangout that we had. I think at one point it was full.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Okay. Guys are live streaming. Thank you. Welcome. You were getting double audio. Is that better? One more person. Six Layer says it's better. Okay, Mike Howard says it's better. So yes, I have a podcasting issue. The more gear that I can physically purchase for this hobby, the better. So I have a sickness. I've been trying out some video stuff to show you guys, and we may bring that soon. I keep gathering more and more gear. Tablets, all kinds of stuff, and I just want to show it to you, and I don't want to do it up here in your face like this or in my face. I want to do it, down here and show you guys, different things like sideways cam. See, sideways cam is really great. So if you're not getting this on YouTube, please come check the YouTube and take a look at the video. We're doing all kinds of new things on video. So tonight we're going to be Chromecasting. We've got the Google Chrome thing here, and the Chromecast. We're going to be showing you one of those. I've got one that's open on the TV behind me, and I've got one that I haven't opened. So if you guys want to unbox that one, I'm completely cool with doing that. We're going to be talking Essentials 2012 R2. Mr. John Stutzman is Mr. Microserver, and he has been backed into a corner with his microserverness, and the NIC card on that thing is not loading up properly on install, and it's all John's fault, and I invited him here to apologize to the nation. No, okay, it's HP's fault, but John's going to tell us how to work around that. And then we're going to be talking a little bit of virtual hosting. We got some meetup things to do, and I think that we're going to hint a little bit upon Forefront that John has running on his. And let's get going. Home Server Show is the Twitter address. HomeServerShow.com is the blog, and please join us in the forums. The forums, I say it every week, blowing up, completely blowing up. You guys make it great to come out here and podcast. I wish everybody that participated in the forums would come out to the live podcast and help us through some of this podcast. Because questions, we're always throwing questions out there, and you're going to have a lot of time to answer those. So come podcast live with us. That's all I've got to say. Jim, I'm gonna spring this on you. Do you remember it was about show, I don't know, 30-something, way back, in '09, when I started this thing, I put the call out. I was like, hey, does anybody want to join the old podcast and just talk some stuff? Just come talk. Just come talk with us. Well, I'll be honest with you. I did that, and it was deviously to find podcasting hosts. Jim took the call. Chris Lux took the call. And Johnny Z, Mr. John Zadler, Mr. Diehard, also took the call. Everybody, these guys emailed me, and I said, you know what? I know these guys from the forums, so I'm going to get them on the podcast, and we're going to see if it works. And, man, I tell you, it clicked. You guys were a little subdued the first couple of times, and then it was a beautiful thing. So we went to show 100 like that. So this time, I'm going to put the call out, but I'm not going to do it so deviously because I think you're on to me. I'm just going to put the call out. If you, listening in your car, on your way to work, mowing the lawn, whatever you're doing, if you think you've got what it takes to podcast, you would like to try it out. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. When Zadler left, I told Jim, I said, we're just going to wing it until I get that feeling. I'm just going to wing it until I get that feeling. I'm not going to bring anybody on, force them, square peg into a round hole. We're just going to go. And tons of you guys have been helping me out. John Stutzman's on the show tonight. He's been helping out. Everybody in the chat's been helping out. Schoondog, he's been helping out. So we've had a lot of great guests on here. Lux has been back in. Johnny Z's been back in. Susan Bradley.
Chris Kenning.
Diva. She's been on. We've had a great 2013. And that's the perfect time to open that up. So I'm looking I definitely need help with essentials. If you think you've got the moxie with essentials, I'm looking for you to podcast. I could use, I think guys could use, a NAS person. If you're well versed, say on 2 or 3 boxes or something. This means you probably have a gear problem like me. You've got some gear in your closet, some stuff that probably is not plugged in anymore, some stuff that you're using, some stuff you just tell your wife you're testing, and you might take it back, you might not. So if you have this problem, you may be good for podcasting. So please email me, podcast@homeservershow.com. Just put in there, hey, thinking about trying podcasting. So it's out there. Jim, do you have anything?
Bring them on.
I spring things on Jim all the time.
It's just a note to the podcasting bit, Dave. It's a lot easier than it seems. And I know a lot of folks are scared of that, and it is week in and week out. So you got to kind of be ready. The show comes up every single week, and
yeah, it does. It's we expect a little bit from you. Now, here's what I'll say. Something I haven't done in the past. Well, here's what I say to everybody I bring onto the blog, that I bring onto the podcast. I've said this with Mr. John Stutzman when he volunteered to write, and I sent an email that says, you know what? If you're good for the blog and the podcast, and if I think you're good for the community, then great. We're not going to have a problem. If I sense that it's not working, I'm just going to ask for us to continue to be friends. And I send that email to everybody. I don't want to, any heartbreak, but I just say, hey, maybe it's not working. We'll continue to be friends. So I will send you that email if you're going to send me put your name in the hat. I will send you that same email, and we'll go over a couple of things. But I'm also willing, Jim, this time I'm willing to pony up maybe some microphones or something. I think we could take 2 players. I think we could take 2 guys, an Essentials guy, a NAS guy. Oh, hopefully it's not a Drobo guy. But,
easy now.
But, yeah, I mean, we're generally out here every Wednesday. And I would assume that you're in the forums. I assume that you're out there, and maybe I just don't know about you yet. What's wrong with the Drobo? There's nothing wrong with the Drobo. Just not exciting as a good old Synology.
There's some exciting things we're going to talk about.
Okay, we're going to talk about Drobo in a minute. So enough of that. Podcast@homeservershow.com. That's the email address. Email me if you have questions. Say, maybe I'm thinking about it. Okay. Speaking of Drobo, Jim, I mean, I don't hear anything. I don't listen for it, though.
Yeah, no, you're not listening.
They had a merge with the file transporter guys. The file transporter guys left.
Connected
made
data.
A cool, expensive product.
They did.
Then I think they got their checkbooks out and said, you know what? Remember you guys that fired us? I'm writing the check for Drobo.
Yeah, it's even a little nastier than that in the sense that Drobo was not as profitable as maybe we thought they were. They had made a jump, the current leadership team had made a jump into the enterprise products, and so you saw the B series, B for business, and it was BI 8, I think at 8,000 and a 12 or an 800 and a 1200, something like that. Doesn't really matter. This meant one had 8 drives, the other had 12, and they were really making a run at it, and they were blowing through some cash. And Mario is a good friend of mine, and I'm not going to pass judgment because I don't know. But there's been some articles that have come out. The old CEO is back. He felt like Drobo was spending maybe a little too much money on advertising and some of the other things they were doing, and didn't feel like the enterprise business was going to be profitable. All those will be cut coming up. And Drobo is really going to get back to a focus on the consumer. And so we're going to see the 5D and the 5N and versions of that will continue to go forward. That transporter, Dave, that you talked about, this ability to then access your Drobo from anywhere. This was a key, a key deal. We see that available in some of the Synology and the QNAP products that's there now. That's always been Drobo's Achilles heel. Setting up the storage has been easy. Getting to it from anywhere but your house has been difficult. And I think that'll be a nice, change to have access to your Drobo through this transporter. So the new CEO they are hacking and slashing right now. I doubt they would sponsor us for any reason at this point. They're not really spending a lot of money trying to put the pieces back together, make that merger work. It'll be interesting to see where they go in the next 6 months to a year. Certainly, you guys know my son John had worked for Drobo. He doesn't any longer. He was kind of a first in, or last in, first out. And they cut their support staff, and he has since moved on.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he has since moved on to another company to do tech support. But yeah, it was a little bit of my in. I have to admit, a little soul searching was, am I going to continue to? I haven't really liked the way they went about this. Of course, again, Mario was a good friend, and we'd had good relationships there, and I didn't want to start over with that. And so I've kind of been like, well, maybe I'll just sell my Drobos and be done. Now, ironically, the kids bought me a 5N for my birthday, like the day before this merger announcement happened. So I'm not going to go sell my birthday present. I'll just be honest with you.
You know what? We need to get you a Synology box, Jim, and show you how the other half lives, where you have a store and plugins and things that, man, you can make a Synology jump up and just...
Yeah, Dave, I need another NAS like I need a hole in my head. So I'm going to stick for now. I'm going to stick to Drobo. I think there's some interesting things going on there. And again, that's just a part of my internal storage solution here. So I kind of use Drobo internally for a lot of temporary storage. I store all my ISOs on it. No sense in backing that stuff up.
Right.
And so the Drobo makes a great place to just kind of dump files that I don't necessarily want to back up, that are very operational, and if I lost, wouldn't be a big deal. And then everything else goes out to the home server. So still continue to do that, and my 2011 box that sits right behind me, that for me is a good system, the two of those together. So we'll continue to hang around. I did start a Drobo group, so I know some of you out in our community have brought Drobos in the past and have them. I know Jose is one of those. And on Google Plus, I have a Drobo community going for that kind of open chat. The forums, the Drobo forums are closed, and you really can't talk about Drobo there if you want to. And so I've opened a community on Google Plus. So join me out there if you want to. Just search for Drobo owners, and I'd love to have you in that kind of open community.
Yeah, and we've got a spot in the forums for them.
Yeah.
So
if we get enough traction, Dave, I'll probably just move it over to the forums. So it's just
be a good way to expose others to those Drobo conversations. That's how people That's how people explore. They see that conversation going in the forums. They look at it. They click the links. They look at Newegg. They look at Amazon. Maybe they buy one. So communities can definitely help products. So I think that is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, just open for conversation around it, and it's maybe the shine has come off a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry to see that. I don't. We don't certainly mean anything ill towards Drobo. We give him the $ salute, but it's a decent product. I reviewed it for Byte long time ago, and I thought it was decent.
Yeah, Dave, I like it. The simplicity of it is what I really like. Christian always says, why do you even like this thing? He doesn't. Christian doesn't understand at all why I hang out in that community, and I really do. There's something about how just drop dead simple that thing is. You turn it on, throw some drives in, and you're done. Yeah, there's no messing around with it, and
no drive cages.
Mm-mm.
And I tried to break mine. I mean, I'd yank a drive out of it and have it start rebuilding and stuff, and I'd be yanking and shoving and yanking and shoving. I couldn't kill it. It just kept on chugging.
Yeah, chugs away, and it's great. Like I said, it's a great place just to drop stuff that you're not gonna back up. Somewhat. This is how I do it. It's got copy. It has an app for copy.com, so you can install that app and then sync between copy.com and the Drobo. And I do that on the 5N, but it's just a great place to store stuff that I'm not all that concerned about. And even if a drive fails, I've got drive redundancy setups.
Right. That reminds me, I got to go check my copy.com. People keep clicking that link.
I know.
Told them stop. Well, I've used 81 gig out of my free 227 gig on copy.com.
Yeah, I'm up to 180, so I continue to get
that's good
collect
stuff.
some as well. Dave, let me move on to another NAS. You talked about trying to get me into Synology, but these guys have been hanging around a while. We talk about them about once a year, but Buffalo has what's called a Terra Station, and it's a 3000 series Terra Station. It looks a lot like the HP microserver, the setup, the pedestal design, as they call it, setup, and it comes in 2, 4, and 6, I think, drive configurations. It's the new version, the Buffalo Terra Station 3400 is just out. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. But it reminds me a lot of a Synology. It's got a 1.33 gigahertz dual core ARM processor in it. There we go. It's up on the screen for you. Dual gigabit. It's got 2 USB 3.0 ports as well as a couple USB 2 hot swappable SATA drives in there, a hot spare. It'll run RAID 01, 5, 6, 10 and JBOD, Active Directory integration. It's a SCSI target too. This is the one Brian always hits us up on, especially when I talk about the Drobo and not being a SCSI target, an iSCSI target. This can be an iSCSI target, so you can throw that out there. It would make a nice target, actually, for a Windows Server 2012 server box. And you've got various forms of replication out there, failover support, 10 licenses to Nova Backup for their business edition, and the base model with 2 drives runs for $600. So not 4 terabytes of data, not terrible. If you're, again, it's in that NAS space. If you haven't looked at Buffalo in a while, they're certainly out there still doing some stuff. They've got some rack mountable ones that run in the $1,500 and $1,800 range. If you want to take a look at those, they're 1U 3400 rack mount. So some interesting. I hadn't seen that in a while. Again, we only talk about Buffalo every once in a while. I think I'd bought a USB 3 drive from them at one point. USB, not drive, but a card. So, interesting look.
All right. Yeah, that thing's, we see them every year at CES, but I never really do anything with them. One of these years I'll just grab their business card and we'll do something.
I'd be interested, because nobody's messing with that. I'd be interested in taking a peek. But really, they focus on the small business. So they're not, they have pro, what do they call them? Pro users, pro users? I think that's what they're calling them now. Guys like us who are interested in those kinds of things that aren't your typical user. Prosumers is what they're called.
Prosumers. Enthusiasts.
Yeah. So probably, that's who they're focusing on. So you're probably not going to see a lot of those pop up in the other circles. Buffalo would sell those out through their they probably have inside sales teams that sell those to small businesses.
Okay.
And then last but not least, back to the home server. I'm having some issues. I am running Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials. That's just a mouthful.
As a test.
As a base, yeah. I have the current preview version that is out, and I'm running that as a base on I've got a Dell 690 Precision Workstation that I've got that on. It's working great, but I'm having some real issues. I do have a domain set up, and I had some issues getting the remote desktop to work in the current standalone configuration. So basically, what I want to be able to do is a remote desktop into any of the VMs from another PC other than the server itself. And so I've got that set up. I got Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 8.1 all in VM, all up and running. And I can't get connected. I can't get the services running. So maybe if you've done that, if you've got that running, every time I'll go into the server manager and enable that role and click through the defaults. I'll choose some the ones different than the defaults. But if you've done that before, you know what I'm talking about. And then the service tries to start and it fails. So I'll take some advice on that. I haven't. I don't know. Let me throw that out to you guys. Have you messed around with it yet to that capacity?
No.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I understand what your problem is.
Well, the problem is it's not working, John.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't remote into the VM that's running on the...
Not from another PC. Well, the service does. So there's a role, right? There's a remote services role in 2012, right? That starts up and is the service layer for any time you want to VM from anywhere else on the network or when you want to come in from a different PC. That service, or whatever you want to call it, that role fails to start for me every time I try and fire it up. And I've gone through about 16 or 17 different configurations to make that work. I'm not saying it's broken on the preview. I'm saying maybe I don't exactly know what I'm doing. A little too in-depth to go through here on the show, maybe,
sure.
But I wanted to throw that out there to say if you've got, or you want to start, maybe we'll start some dialogue with that in the forums.
You're testing this from a completely separate network?
Completely separate, no. Still on the same network. It won't even on the same network. It will not. The remote desktop, the RDPs will not. When I point them to the IP for those VMs that are started, it will not pull those up for me.
Wow.
Where are these on separate NICs or the same NIC?
They are on. I have two NICs on there, so it's on a different. I think it's.
I would check that. NIC. I saw something somewhere to make sure that those are separated completely. Sharing NICs, I think, will not work on the R2. I think if you have completely separate NIC, I would just check it, Jim. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm running off the one that goes to the main NIC that comes off of it is the onboard, and then I actually have two separate dual NIC cards in there. NIC, the adapters have two. They're a dual LAN.
Okay.
So, and I've got the one that's going to the network separated out. So it's okay. But you know what? That's good. I'll dig in a little bit on the network.
Okay. It'd be interesting to know. Is that like an Intel card that has two network cards on it physically, or are we talking two separate?
Nope. I have two cards, each have two ports, so I have 5 total if you count the onboard one.
Okay. And this is on your big bastard of a box?
It's the big one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry there.
No, that's fine. And Tim says Jim doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be if I knew what I was doing. I wouldn't be asking.
Let's just throw this out there. I don't think Jim knows what he's doing.
No, I don't. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. New to virtualization and trying that out, but maybe you're trying it out too. So, I wanted to throw that out there and say I don't know what I'm doing. So maybe we can start a dialogue around it. I should probably ping Lopta. He's out there. He knows quite a bit about that stuff.
The other thing I would do is just see if has anything been bugged in Connect. I would just see if anything's been bugged. Okay.
Yep.
So you didn't have any problems doing this with just the old server?
No, first time, Joe. First time for me.
Oh, so you haven't done this in 2012?
Nope, not 2012 server. I got it set up and running and then never got this far. R2 came out, I put it on, and I've been trying to teach myself some virtualization stuff that I haven't really done before. And I really am excited because R2 as a base can be fantastic. R2 Essentials can be fantastic because the Hyper-V role is enabled.
Right.
So now for us enthusiasts, we can get that all in one. So I've been really working hard to kind of catch up my learning on virtualization. And so, yeah, I'm a rookie on this for sure. But love, if you've got some more information, maybe you can help me out.
Yeah, we could talk more later.
Yeah, I think make sure. Yeah, let's. Maybe we can even do it on the next week's show. Work through it and work through some things to click through. So
yeah,
we'll take a look.
Yeah, I'll throw something in the forums.
We'll take a look. Okay, today, breaking news today. Microsoft lost another court case. You remember Metro changed to modern UI. SkyDrive. Well, it seems these British peoples who own the words sky are going to try to patent or whatever, trademark the word sky. So next thing, somebody called Earth, when we're all going to have to freaking move because someone's going to patent the Earth. So they've patented SkyDrive. Microsoft said, okay, we'll change our name. So I thought, you know what? I'm wearing my very nice and lovely SkyDrive t-shirt, but I do not want to be taken to court. So I told you I had a prop for the rest of the show, and this is how we're going to do it. This is my protest to Microsoft to grow a pair of huevos and win a court case. So somebody screen cap that. Tweet that. That is my personal disgust with everything that's been going on with Microsoft. They just cannot win.
Move your camera down a little bit, and I'll capture that.
And actually get that there. So, okay, Microsoft. So, but they're gonna have to change the name to SkyDrive. Everybody out there was tweeting about this and calling for just crazy names. Crazy names. We will always know it as SkyDrive. So.
How about Skyfall?
Nope, the Sky. You know, the movie. They're getting sued next. So.
Yeah, but James Bond could come after them.
Well, he's a Brit, so I doubt that they will sue James Bond. So. We'll move on. Chromecast. We'll do this real quick. Do you actually? You don't really. We don't need to unbox this, do we? Do you want to see this thing? Do you want to see like the size or?
Yeah, bring it out.
Okay.
Just pop it out real quick.
Hey, speaking of SkyDrive, you guys talk about the meetup, Jim, real quick. I want you to take a look at this. This is a handful of extra data that we're going to give away. These are SkyDrive cards to give extra data. We're going to give these away. I'll probably have to white out the sky in each one of these to be compliant, but I will
use
do
a
that.
Sharpie.
I will Sharpie those out. So I'm going to open this, Jim, and why don't you talk some meetup here?
Yeah, well, let me also say that I ordered those too, Dave, but I think you ordered two, and you took the one away that I tried to order. So we're 5 weeks behind. So by the time I finally got to the Amazon to pick them up, they were gone, and so we're 5 weeks out. And for $35, how can you go wrong? I mean, it's a pretty amazing, from the initial, and Dave, I assume you've been trying it out, but from the initial.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to try out, as I will show you, but I didn't hesitate. I guess live YouTubers can't see this. I didn't hesitate. I got on, ordered two, and I just got my my email from Amazon, which gives me my Netflix. So I was actually in the early group.
Yeah, no, I missed out on that.
Okay, so this is a Chromecast. This is an HDMI dongle. You guys have probably heard this, but Lapta is asking what is it. So we're going to go through it real quick. It's a dongle. It's think of Apple TV, think of Roku, just very highly specialized for Android. So here it is. I thought they did a very nice job with the boxing. So they show it right in here. There's the little dongle. And you just pull this, you just pull this guy out. And that is the size of it. What could I show? I mean, this is a credit card. The SkyDrive is a credit card size.
Put it up to your phone there.
So,
Oh, there
the
you go.
Lumia 928. Whoop. So that is the size of this bad boy.
Cool.
This thing is, so there's a protective, yuck. So it does have a button. I've not yet needed the button, but it also has a USB power. And notice that it's HDMI. So it's got a little heft to it. It comes with a USB power cable with a nice little Velcro strappy. I was kind of impressed. All this is $35, guys. It also comes with a nice USB wall mount charger. Now, 90% of you guys buying this will not need it. You do have to power it. But your televisions all have little USB, well, most of them have a little USB power on the back of it or somewhere on your TV. And I just plugged in, this. So you just plug into your ChromeCast. I don't want to get it wrong. This part plugs into HDMI. And this part plugs into power on your TV. Now, for guys that don't have the power on your TV or the USB on your TV, you can just do this. Generally, everything's going to be behind your TV. I saw a lot of people bitching and moaning about this. Oh, it's got to be powered. It's got to be powered. Big deal. It's behind your TV. I mean, you got to power a Roku. You're not bitching about that. So the other thing that is really cool, you could pay a couple dollars for this HDMI extender. So let's say your TV, it's tight getting some HDMI plugs into your the back of your TV.
And especially if you mount it right on the wall.
Yeah, see, you can do this. So you just plug this guy in here like that. Someone's tweeting. Okay.
You know, David, it would have been great if they would have. I mean, that's great that they gave you the cable, but it would have been great if they would have put that end on a swivel. You know, so a hinge, so it could either stick straight out, or you could just, turn that hinge 90 degrees.
Right.
And it would sit down, and that eliminate the need for the dongle.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe a higher failure point.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
I bought some 90s before.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I think with the extender, it's a no-brainer because you don't have to have a hinge that rotates 180 because you never know on some TVs where the HDMI is going to be because it's a keyed connector. You might have to flip it around. You buy the wrong 90-degree connector, and you're, pointing into the screen and not outwards.
Yep. Right on.
Now, the only thing I was going to try to do is I've got it behind me. If you can look, it says, raise the camera, ready to cast. That glowing thing is a lamp. So it's in office. It's got the time, and it's connected via wireless. And drop dead simple to install this thing. You go out to Google, you get a little piece of software, and man, you install this thing real quick. It takes no time. Let's see if I can Chromecast the Google Hangout here. Where is? It's not that. It's not that. Here it is. So we're a little behind. So you can see this. Now you install this extension on your Google Chrome. And wow, it's way behind. So you're watching this. Now, up here in the right corner, you're going to see this little icon, little square with the little, RSS feed, little wireless feed going to it. and it's going to list all the casts, the Chromecasts in your network. So it sees mine called Office, which I showed you. It says Office back there, and it should be showing that, which I need to get back to my Hangout to look at it. There you go. So you can see it on the TV behind us. I'm Chromecasting that entire web browser right there. So you can see that. Okay, let's drop that and show you. So I'm going to drop that cast. Let's just do it straight from YouTube. So the cool thing is you can Chromecast straight from YouTube. Let's do that. Office, my computer. And it should full screen that. So my big head should be fairly large upon the screen. Yep, there was an error playing this video. Did not like that, Jim.
Maybe it didn't like the live one.
We broke. Now it still shows it here. Oh, I gotta go here. This computer. Interesting. Oh, I have to play the video. Okay. Now let's try it again. Chromecast. Hello, Chromecast. Go. It gave me the little icon. Nope, there's an error. So we figured out one way to break this thing. So let's just go to YouTube. Let's see if I can just find... what do we want to do here? Oh, God, I can't find anything. Look, here's John Deere. Let's Chromecast this. Back to the back. Go. Okay, so that's Chromecasting. Can you see that behind me?
Yeah.
So obviously something with Hangouts and live Hangouts did not work. You know, I'm looking at it. That looks pretty good. I don't know what these guys filmed it in, but
show that. Switch over to your camera, Dave, in the live stream. They're still seeing just the window, just the PC window. Can you switch over to you?
Oh, okay. The live guys.
Yeah.
So they were seeing the web browser.
Yeah, they were seeing the web browser. There they go.
So if I'm talking, you can see behind me, and you can see the John Deere video playing right there. So you can see that. That's on that 55-inch behind me. There's a John Deere video that I play John Deere YouTubes for my kids. They love it. So, so I'm gonna try to find that window. It's right here. Now you can see that. We're gonna take that off and put it to this computer. Now you know what I want to do? Oh, look at that. That's wild. I want to go back and try it again. We have, we've primed the old pump there. Let's just go see if we can Chromecast that. Connecting. I get, now it says there's an error playing this video. I get the title, but I lose, so let me pull up Hangouts. We'll get that back. So, okay, so there's a small deviation to your normal home server show. Chromecast, it'll play from Netflix, it'll play from YouTube, it'll play from your from your Chrome browser. You can pick any window. So the other night I just went to Amazon Prime and picked a movie, started watching a movie, and pushed it to the TV. Worked fine. So you can even push full screen like Amazon Prime to the TV. Now you lose if you push a tab on your Chrome browser. You can go to other tabs and play. So you push a tab like Amazon Video, you'll get the little video window and all the stuff around it, right? And you can change to another tab and surf the web, check your email, do whatever, and it's still sending to the to your TV screen, to your Chromecast. If you push Amazon Video to full screen, like full screen computer, I mean, you lose your computer at that point, and it's playing on the TV. So it's gonna take some work to refine. It's gonna take some additional people to come out, like HBO. People have been talking about, they need some help from providers with content to make this thing go. $35 I thought was a no-brainer. That's why I bought it. I've never subscribed to Netflix, and now I bought 2 so I can put 1 on each TV, and I have 6 months of free Netflix. Now I agree that not everybody got that. You had to order within, I think, like the first couple of hours in order to get that deal. But $35 for this Chromecast, I thought it was pretty neat. But then I kind of a gadget buyer. Who knows if I'll ever use it again, Jim? I have no clue. I readily admit that. I'm not like promoting it per se. I'm just saying I was interested in it, and at $35, it's like a pack of gum at the supermarket. It's like, what the heck? I'll buy it.
Yeah, I think it's got some interesting applications yet to come. I mean, this is developer equipment, right? Google put this out to say, hey, developers, look what you can do with this. We as consumers picked it up. I'm not sure it's ready for us to pick up yet. We're going to, because we're enthusiasts and we want to see what it's like. I think it's really 6 to 9 months from being very interesting. And this is the 3rd TV attempt by Google, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, number
to see
3. Number 2 never even left the factory.
No,
so
it'll be interesting to see, but it's got a lot of promise. I mean, it's the right price point for sure.
Yeah.
So
did you get our Transmix spammer, Jim?
Oh, is he still in there?
I don't know.
I didn't see that. Yeah, there we go.
He got there 3 times. So
forever. Clear user messages.
Thank you, Jim. Boom. He's gone.
He's gone. Cool. Man, I took my eyes off chat for a second.
And we get spammed.
I love to watch you do that.
If you're watching on YouTube or live stream, we're at homeservershow.com. Our forums there is generally where we communicate with each other, but you can watch the live video. Click the live link there at homeservershow.com. We'll talk to you live. Now, the main event here, John Stutzman, he's been very quiet tonight. Obviously, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, Chromecast, whatever, let me know. Podcast at homeservershow.com. I will answer your questions. And before we get to John, I was just going to say one thing. Last week, Apple announced their billionth subscription to podcasts. Now, this is going through the little podcast base and saying someone's clicking, I'll subscribe to this podcast. Not listens. This is subscribe podcast. And this is iTunes alone. 1 billion. 1 billion. That's a huge number for this little industry that we call podcasting, and I think that is a great thing. I thought we should celebrate it, and I was digging through iTunes. I do this like once every 6 months or something. I make sure I find my show, make sure the artwork is okay, everything's looking good, and I was digging through, okay, what's hot? I like to look through what's hot and, top ranking, and I was digging through what's hot, and boom, the Home Server Show podcast is listed in the What's Hot section. I need to share a screen with you. I'll screen share that right there. You can see it right here, the Home Server Show, right in between Giant Bomb Interview Dump Truck and the Twit Security Now. I have no idea what Giant Bomb Interview Dump Truck is. I'm going to have to listen to that show.
It's a cassette. Look at the
I know.
Cassette.
But look around it. Look around you. Deep Fried Bites, a CNET show, a Twitch show, Engadget HD, and then there's Home Server Show. I thought that was just freaking fantastic. So, we owe that to the listener, the viewer, the reader, the forum participant. We owe that to you guys for going out there to iTunes and clicking those stars and rating those podcasts. Thank you very much. If you're listening now, make a note, put it in your Evernote, put it in your OneNote, send yourself an email. When you get home, fire up your iTunes, fire up your wife's iTunes, whoever uses it in your house. Go out there to podcasts, go to Home Server Show, give it some 5 stars, rate it if you'd like, Go out to the average guy, give it 5 stars, rate it if you would like. Go out there to BYOB, give it 5 stars, rate it if you would like with some text. You don't even have to write anything like, oh, I love these guys. You don't have to. You just give it 5 stars. Click on the stars and be on your way. That's what moves those shows up in search rank and puts them in that What's Hot section. And I guarantee you, when you get in that What's Hot section, you get little spikes of subscriptions and listens, and it's fantastic for the brand, and it's fantastic. We don't get anything, Jim. We don't get anything. Maybe we get an extra listener, and that's what we want. We're trying to reach folks with storage and get people into the forums to ask questions and participate with. So, thank you very much. I'm losing my voice. We're going to go back to my show notes, and we're going to introduce, finally, Mr. John Stutzman. He is Mr. Microserver. John, what are we going to be talking about tonight? How did I introduce you?
Well, you said Mr. Microserver, and what we had talked about was just to kind of go over quickly how I was able to get Server 2012 Essentials R2 preview loaded up onto a microserver.
I think I blamed the world's problems on you, John. Didn't
well,
I?
I had told you I thought it was going to be easy to do before you tried it, and you proved me wrong.
You remember what was it? 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago? Fired up my N54L, my brand new microserver, stuck in my USB key, and we got stuck at 12% maybe. And it was just like, well, it'll kick in. It'll go. Finally, we rebooted it. It went right back to 12%. Got stuck. And,
right after that, I thought, well, I'll just put an Intel NIC in there, turn off the NIC on the motherboard, and I'll have no problem. Well, I did that, and I must have forgot to turn off the NIC on the motherboard, or maybe when I exited, I didn't save it when I exited the BIOS change or whatever. Anyway, it still froze up, and I was getting ready to leave on vacation, so I thought, well, I'm just going to have to take care of this later. But and that's when I got back from vacation. Of course, like everything else, and I know you've had the same problem. You got so many things to do. It takes a while to kind of get back on track. And I was doing some other testing and stuff, and I posted made some blog postings and based on that. But finally, it was last weekend, really. I had been planning to use my Intel NIC and make sure that I just turned everything off that had to do with the system board NIC from HP. Just make sure everything was turned off. So that's what I did, and we have a posting in the forums and also a blog posting that covered that. And I just went through and I took pictures of what I did, and there's even a picture in the posting. It's towards the end of the thread about anyone successfully installed Server 2012 R2 Essentials on a microserver, and it was started by Diehard. And he had also, a few days before that, had given me a step-by-step what he did via Twitter, so the whole Twitter world should have known about it already. But I went through and I, as you can see in one picture, is my infamous securing the SSD to the microserver with electrical tape. I've gone to yellow tape instead of blue this time. And I have pictures on my screens of which things specifically I disabled. And the first thing was in the boot screen or the boot submenu, I disabled the embedded NIC port 1 control, and that's the critical one that has to be disabled. The other things, the Wake on LAN, I went ahead and disabled that. I found out later you could enable it and it doesn't have any impact. And then I went to the chipset submenu, which really these things shouldn't have had any impact. The Authoros NIC, which doesn't really exist, but it's in the BIOS, and the NEC USB 3 controller That's in the BIOS, but it doesn't exist really physically on the motherboard. But I went ahead and disabled those because they were kind of worthless anyway, from that perspective. Disabled all that stuff, and I just had an Intel single NIC installed. And but after I did that, and I also have a picture I didn't post where I made a picture showing me actually saving the BIOS before I got out of it. So I wanted to make sure I did that. And then it was really easy to install 2012 Essentials R2 Preview. I put it in, that section where it got to where, for me, I was stuck at 4%, maybe it was 12% or whatever for you, but it got to that part. On this install, it just blasted right through it. I mean, it just zipped right through. The numbers just shot up, and it was done. And in less than an hour, I was looking at having to OK an update of something like 16 or 17 important updates. So I did that, and have messed with it a little bit more, and then I realized I'm going to be wanting to engage Hyper-V on this thing to try out some of the stuff with that. I also want to do some things with storage spaces. So I turned the machine off and took it apart and took out the single port Intel NIC, and I went to my main server, I'll call it Colossus, and took out the dual port NIC that I'd been using in that. It has two other NICs in it, but took out the dual port Intel NIC, put that in there, fired it up, and it was just no problem at all. It saw it right away. Microsoft even in the Windows Update gave me the options to download driver updates for it, and I mean, it works really well. So I've gotten that far this weekend. I've already done some things playing with storage spaces, creating a storage space, doing some performance runs on it, and just some real trivial stuff. But one of the big things I was just going to touch on that since I have a TechNet account, I have access to Microsoft Forefront, and I thought while I'm testing this, I would really feel stupid if I got a virus onto my network via this
right.
While I was messing around. So I thought I'm going to load Forefront on this. And I knew I had done it on the previous version, and I thought I remembered how to do it from memory. So I tried it, and it loaded, but it wouldn't update the Forefront engine. And I had posted in the forums under the thread or the forums section on 2012 Essentials, asking if anybody remembered, how to do this. And I posted the error that I was getting. And then the other night, last night, I was poking around into that entire thread, and it's like 11 or 12 pages, and it's really very rich in information. I mean, if somebody's starting out, even with Essentials R2, I would suggest going back maybe and start going forward, because there's a lot of data in there. And I went in there and I found that I had a post in there telling how to do it. So I took that post, and it's I think it's post number 22 in that thread. Or you could also find it in the more current thread where I titled it Loading MS Forefront on the Server 2012 Essentials R2 Preview. But in that post previously, I told how to go to the Microsoft Update Catalog, pull down the updated engine for Forefront, and force it to load. Once I did that, my little Forefront icon, it's like a green ball. Well, it turned green, and the engine and everything's updated. The engine in it agrees with the Microsoft engines that I have in my other Microsoft devices, like in Windows 7 and stuff, where you have the Microsoft virus software loaded. So, and actually, it's it's got the little check mark on it, and everything is current. It's been I set it up to do 2 scans a day, and so I feel much better now having that loaded.
Okay. Now let me take you back to the NIC issue. So this is it's a Broadcom chipset on the HP
system board. Yeah,
on the system board. And so that's what I think Microsoft has even said, or someone bugged it, and they came out and said that there's just not a driver for this chipset in the package, so it's hanging. And we obviously know that that'll be fixed. It would be nice.
Hope. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll definitely fix that. It'd be nice if there was a new build and we could and download a new ISO and get this installed. But how we're circumventing that is we actually have to purchase gear now, or if you have something laying around. Microserver specifically, you're going to need a PCIe 1X. So the little bitty inch and a quarter connector on PCIe
for one NIC.
For one NIC, it's an X1 connector on those, and it's got to be a half height as well. So we can't be running a full height. We have to run a half height. Now I told you, okay, find me a link on Amazon because I'm going to buy it, a network card. And I put down at the bottom of the post, John, I found, I don't even know how you pronounce their name, SYBA. We've bought their gear before. They make all kinds of cheap little add-in cards and option cards. But I'm just wondering, what if this is the same Broadcom chipset that, I'm trying to look on the card, I cannot tell. If it's a Broadcom chip on this NIC card, John, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I like the Intel just because I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, Intel, Microsoft is going to make sure anything Intel is going to work with them. I figure so. That's why I've only gone with them. And then the Newegg was having some fantastic sales, particularly on the single NIC cards. Especially during the holidays, you were getting them for around $20. Now the dual NIC cards, they had
about buying a dual.
Yeah, the Newegg had them on sale. It wasn't. It was the last round of holidays, so it was the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's period, but then even on sale, I think it was like 120. Now
this SIBA dual port gigabit Ethernet is an X1 low. It's a half height. It's $34, $33.99.
Dual NIC X1.
Dual NIC. It's
now I gave you a link for at Amazon for the Intel dual port.
Right.
That has the same number as the one that I got, and it was like $51.
It was $51 with shipping, I believe.
The shipping was okay.
It was not an Amazon. It's $4 shipping by Amtech.
Amtech, yeah.
Schoonover says the SYBA are Realtek chips. And Lopta's giving me an ew. Like, don't buy it. An ew. Stick with the Intel.
Yeah, well, if this one from Amtech, I mean, it's got the same part number and everything as the one that I used. At $51, you're only talking about a $10 difference. And that you'll have to put that one though in the bigger slot in the microserver.
Why so?
It won't fit in the X1 slot. If you look at the picture on Amazon,
mm-hmm.
You'll see the back set of pins is longer. It just won't fit inside the
Okay.
in the X1 slot, so you'll have to use the larger slot. So
Okay, so this is an actual X4.
yeah,
Oh. Or an X8. Or is this an X8? I can't remember. Just by looking at the picture, I can't remember. So this is definitely not an X1. Which?
yeah, it's bigger than X1. That's all I can remember right now. Let's see, X4. It's an X4.
Okay, it's an X4.
Yeah, yeah. Newegg had the information on it.
Oh, okay. So good on you, Newegg. No, the reason I brought up that is I was looking at Prime to see if I could, get this in here tomorrow, but
you can't. You
no,
can't use Prime if it's
from Amtech. It's sold by Amtech, so this is an
Oh.
Amazon seller.
So
There's
you're
no
looking
way
at
shipped and sold for-
$3.99 shipping.
I mean, yeah, $4 is no big deal. It's
No.
big deal.
What about Fry's?
Fry's has not had an X1 gigabit NIC for quite some time.
Well, they might have this. This is an X4.
No, I mean anything
Oh.
half height gigabit does not exist at my Fry's.
Oh, I was going to say
I've been in there several times.
Yeah, because you could take this price and they would match the internet price.
Oh yeah, if they had this exact one, it would already be in my microserver because
Yeah.
I've been to Fry's.
What
Like
about
3
Best
times.
Buy?
No, not the one that I was in today. They
you've
had
already-
a PCI card.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure maybe a larger Best Buy might have a PCIe card, but
Yeah, when I did the search on Amazon for this particular NIC or the dual NIC, it gave me like a listing of 9, and a couple of them were just PCI cards, and they didn't even have the same model number. So I don't know why it did that, but yeah, you got to be careful, I guess. That's the PCIe card, and it's the EXPI 942P TBLK.
yeah. I'm going to find that at Newegg, SYBA, dual port gigabit Ethernet. Sorry, we're kind of boring you here. We're trying to figure out what cards, we'll move on, will work. And
it's at 155 now at Newegg.
Yeah.
It's pretty
the
pricey.
thing is if you think, okay, there's no driver for this card, it's not, it'll be fine. Just turn off your box, go into BIOS, disable the onboard NIC, and install it. It works fine. It works fine, but that's as far as you will get. If you reboot, turn it back on, and restart the server, you think, okay, it'll come back on. Maybe it'll sense, find a driver. Maybe I can load some Broadcom drivers, which we've all tried, and it does not do it. It will still hang because it sees that NIC card, and it's trying to do something and load a driver, and it just keeps freezing the system. So we did that on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we're not able to figure that out. And I think I got a tweet or an email from someone said, Dave, I saw your YouTube. I'm having the same issue. Disable your NIC card. Well, I immediately. So we just started this ball rolling, and even in the I wanted to show you, John, in the TechNet. No, it's not TechNet. It's the which forum is it on Amazon? Or I mean, Microsoft. Yeah, it's a TechNet.
Yeah, it's the TechNet.
It's a TechNet forum. Someone started a thread out there that says, "Hey, the 2012 install fails on the N54L," and someone referred back to our post in TechNet and said, "Hey, go look at HomeServerShow.com. They've got a thread going. Maybe they've got a fix going." So that link will be in the show notes. I'll show everybody. So I just thought it was kind of cool that something that you guys have been doing in the forums was showing up on the TechNet radar on their forums. So right now there's no fix. I expect, I'll just say it, they're going to fix it, but we just don't have a new build out for it right now. And I want to ask you real quick before we have to move on to Surface Geeks. I was going to try. We talked pre-show, John, about doing some video and some virtual hosting, which I don't think is going to work. But do you think the microserver would be a suitable host for, let's say we get Essentials R2 to work on it, right? Do you think, is it set up as that virtual component in the server? Could you like load up like a Windows 7 volume in it and run some Media Center, or do I need to move to like the true server product?
Well, you can put a Windows 7 machine virtually and run it on a microserver. I think the problem with the N36 and the N40 and the N54 is, it really depends on what you want to do in that machine that you're running virtually. If it's going to be something that's CPU intensive, you're better off going with something with more horsepower. Either
you think I'm going to run into trouble running Media Center on it?
The 54, you could try it. I assume you're going to be loading Essentials on it, and you could throw a Windows 7 on there and see what happens, or I could give it a shot too in the next few weeks.
I was just curious, see what you thought.
But I would think now this might be something with the Gen 8. If you wanted a little box like the Gen 8, and
the Gen 8's got a lot more ponies under the hood.
Well, it not only has a lot more ponies, but we're seeing that we've already had people post on the boards that they've one guy put two people have put a Xeon E3 1265L V2 in their Gen 8s, and I mean that's the same as an i7. It's 4 cores, 8 threads, and that's a 45 TDP CPU, but unless they're running Prime 95 on it all the time, they may be okay.
Right.
But if you were wanting a little box that had a lot of horsepower, that would be a possibility. But then I looked at that chip; it's on Newegg, but it's over $300. So then you're talking, a Gen 8 box that's $400. Maybe you get some shell shocker deal of $350, but still, you got $700 in it plus whatever you spend on RAM. I'm not sure how that would compare to building your own box.
Yeah, I was I don't know. I've got plenty of hardware. None of my hardware is specifically like good. It's just all kind of your average kind of boxes. Even my Windows Home Server, I'll put a link out there for you. I put that build out there 2 years ago, and it's just so. So I was thinking about, how could I reduce some of my footprint, and I thought maybe Essentials is the box for me. And I bought this microserver. I have no clue on how to use this microserver right now. It's a test box for R2. It's what it was going to be, but now it won't even load the driver. So I'm still figuring out how I'm going to use my.
Well, for now, Dave. I mean, they'll get that fixed, and then in the next version, it may even come out in a patch here, coming up.
So nice. Specifically, what you're trying to do is load Windows 7 on it and use the Media Center for recording.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is have my server running, and then have a virtual machine of Media Center, which does all the recording of the shows and also serves all the extenders. So it does need to be, I would say it needs to have a little juice, a little power. I don't know how much power. That's what I'm debating. And I've yet to get into virtual.
It's a little tricky. Anytime you're doing with video on virtualization, even in audio, can be a little tricky. So you go in eyes wide open.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, it gives you a reason now to play more with your N54.
There you go. Just have to carve out some time and play a little more. Well, listen, guys, we got to get boogieing. It's been a blast. I hate to go another 2 weeks without a podcast, but sometimes you got to take a break, refresh the old senses. But we're still going on Home Server Show. We're trying to pull out some good stuff for you. And remember what I said at the top of the show. If you think you got the moxie, email me, podcast@homeservershow.com. We are going to try to take a look at adding some new hosts to the show. So, Jim, thanks for coming out.
You bet, Dave.
John, once again.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for your knowledge. Thanks for participating out there in the forums, and we're going to see you once again here next week. Goodbye.